In a world of podcasts, one rises in the night to destroy them all. The elder god in an ocean of noise, the Cthulhu of the airwaves. This is Spoiler Country.
Hey, all right. Welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Kenric, obviously, and today on the show, we're super excited because if you are hip to the world of Kevin Smith and you've seen Clerks, and maybe you're a comic book men fan like I myself am, he's a podcaster, he's a comic book artist. Walt Flanagan, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So today I was doing a little bit of research and watched some of the old stuff. In 2016, you were doing an interview with AMC, like at some type of con.
Okay.
And it was you and Ming, and I don't know who it was because I don't want to say it, but it was so funny because the guy was asking you questions, and the look on your face was, "Can I get the fuck out of here already?" And you're like looking back and forth, and every time Ming would answer the question, and you'd be like, "What was the question?" What he said.
I think for the first 6 out of 7 years of Comic Book Man, I probably had that look on my face.
Yeah.
It was only until the last year that I was like, oh man, I'm having fun doing this. I finally allowed myself to have a little bit of fun. And as soon as I allowed myself to have fun and start to enjoy it, they canceled it.
Bastards. I love that show because I'm a comic book nerd. I've been reading. My first comic book I read was Magic, the limited series. Back in the 80s. I snuck in. I'm 48. I'll be 48 this summer. And I snuck into my brother's room. I would think I was 7 or 8. And that cover of her cross-legged with the sword. And I was like, I was infatuated because I was like, oh, it makes me feel funny while looking at this picture. And then reading the book, I was like, oh, this is, and then I fell in love and that was it. And then I was reading books ever since for the most part. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you, but I've been reading comics since I was 5.
Yeah.
So that was probably be like 1973.
Nice.
Not even reading, just looking at the pictures, like poring over them, like just like in awe of the artwork. And then as soon as I was able to start reading them, then it was like I was hooked and I never stopped. Well, actually, I guess I have stopped. I don't really read new comics anymore, but I still devour any old collections of anything from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
If they put it into a hardback, I buy it. I'll buy it multiple times in multiple formats. I'll soft cover, hardcover, absolute, masterwork. And I have like the Daredevil Miller run in like 6 different formats.
I bought the Daredevil Miller run off of eBay, and the guy's like, Daredevil Miller run. And I was like, sweet. And I bought the whole thing and I went to go read it. And he pulled out all of the key issues. So I just have all of them, but Elektra and the death of Elektra. And it's like, oh, come on, man. You would have paid the extra for it.
Well, those are the big books. It would have paid a lot extra probably for if you wanted those books.
Dude, I don't get rid of my stuff. Like I was watching Comic Book Man, I'd go in there with the book and I would talk to you guys and I'd be like, I can't sell this. I'm sorry, because I keep everything. You know what I mean? I'll buy books sometimes thinking that I want to spectate, right? And I'm not a spectator. So it's like, I get it. I want to read it. And then like, yeah, I can't get rid of it. When somebody wants to sign it and they're like, you want me to say it to you? And I'm like, yes, please sign it to me. I'm never going to get rid of this. I'm going to die. And my kid is going to have to deal with all my comic books.
Oh yeah. Anybody who collects comics, unless you're a speculator, like you said, or you have like, but nobody has a completely like primo collection. No. You may have here or there, like 10 or 12 really, really expensive books, but then you probably have thousands of books that are almost unmovable.
Oh, dude, I'm on my second collection. My first collection I got rid of because I was in my 20s and I was, when you're in your 20s, I don't know about you, but I felt like I was moving like every other year or once a year. And I had just long boxes I had a closet and I had so many long boxes, it basically covered all the way up to the top of the closet. And so and those things are fucking heavy. And so
Oh yeah.
sit there and move those every time. I'm just like, I got to get rid of these. And I just did it all at once. I worked at Microsoft, and Microsoft had this thing called Micronews, and it was printed. This is in the late 90s, and it was printed. It was awesome. And you can go in, and it was like an old school classified ads. And I put them in there, and I sold the whole collection for like $3,000. Wasn't even that much. And there was a lot of good stuff in there because I had been collecting for, at that time, probably 12 years at least. And yeah, man, I remember this guy bought him. He goes, well, I'm buying them for my kids. I'm like, you should really go through here, because there was like Tim Virgil's Faust was in there. I'm like, you really should go through these books. He's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, well, how's your kid? He's like 8. I'm like, no, really.
Yeah. I remember the Faust books, man. There was nothing left in the imagination with those books, man. You saw everything.
And to extreme detail.
Yeah, extreme gore and extreme vagina shots, left and right. I mean, it was
all over the place.
Yeah.
He's very open about it too.
And full frontal male nudity. That was a wild book, man.
Yeah.
David Quinn, I think, was the writer, right? And Tim Vigil was the artist.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's I don't want the art was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know if it was good stuff, because I don't remember the storyline now. You know,
well, I think they were just like, Tim, what do you want to draw? People being disemboweled, pussies, and a few cocks, and then I'll
flying cocks through the air, being cut off. So, dude, how long have you been drawing books now? Because I did see that you said when you were in Clerks, but you were shitty
drawing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I still don't think I'm barely above shitty now. I was always drawn to the comic book because of the artwork.
Yeah.
And I would sit there when I was a little kid. I would try to draw the pictures that were in the panels and color them in with crayons, then magic markers, then colored pencils, then pastels, then watercolors. So I was always like drawing my favorite panels by my favorite artists, and eventually, I said, I'm going to try to make a comic book, and I would start, something like some idea I had, but I would never, ever finish it. But then finally, I just was like, you know what, I'm going to start something. I'm going to finish it. And that was a book called Kearney that was published by IDW in 2005, I believe.
Right.
Written by my co-host and lifelong friend, Brian Johnson. It was about a traveling sideshow of cannibalistic freaks who would roll into towns, and they would set up and perform for these towns and drug this pork that they would serve. Like the freaks would serve the townspeople this big meal. They would put on a show for them, and by the end of the show, they would be all knocked out, and they would then kill them and pickle them and eat them. And then they would just go from town to town doing this in the early 1800s. And until one kid figures out what's going on, and he tries to warn his parents, and nobody believes him. And, but so he kind of like blows the whistle and puts an end to this evil band of freak. Not very PC today. Probably no comic book publisher would ever touch it. But back in 2005, we were lucky enough where one took a chance on it.
Dude, that
didn't pay off for them. Didn't do well, but
it kind of sounds like something Rob Zombie would do as a movie. Or remember that Disney movie, Something Wicked This Way Comes?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely has those kind of vibes of, like I said, like an evil sideshow, and kind of, definitely influenced by the Todd Browning Freaks movie.
Yeah,
and it was fun to draw, but like I said, nobody really knows about it. Kind of came and went, and didn't really make a big splash or any splash.
Right. IDW is a great place to be, though.
Yeah, definitely. They were, especially back then, they didn't have any licenses yet. They didn't have Transformers or G.I. Joe or My Little Pony or all the other things they had. So they were really looking for creative owned properties back then. And that's how we got our foot in the door.
Yeah.
And then we did a follow-up with them like a year later called War of the Undead. which is basically the Universal monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman versus Nazis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and the premise was, again, with Brian, like he wrote it, and it was the Nazis are going to try to rescue Hitler's soul from hell and put it in the only soulless body that walks the earth, which is Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
To do this, they need the blood of a werewolf to open up a portal, and they're going to send Dracula in, who's the only being they know on the planet that can go into hell and come back.
That sounds awesome.
But then the monsters turn on the Nazis and they save the world, but the world never knows it. And they're the heroes of this 3-issue series that, again, not many people ever saw or read.
I think I might have to search that one out. That sounds fun. I love the Universal monsters, so that's kind of
yeah. I'm a big Universal monsters fan.
Detective, I'm already in the bag. I can't get enough of it. Have you ever read the book Sandman Slim by Richard Kadrey?
No, I have not.
I think you might like it based on what you described.
What's it called?
Sandman Slim.
Sandman Slim. Okay, I'm going to take a note of that.
Books in the series now, and it's about a kid that's 19, and he's a magician, and does real magic with his buddies. And then one of them is jealous, so he sets up a thing, and he gets power from demons, and they send him to hell. But he's alive; he doesn't die. So he's in hell for 11 years, fighting in the ring like gladiator. And then his girlfriend that he had gets murdered by the people that sent them. So he escapes hell and then comes back to Earth, and it goes from there.
This is a prose book. It's not a comic book.
Correct.
Oh, okay. I got to check that out. That sounds awesome.
Amazing. And the guy that directed what's the Keanu Reeves movie? John Wick.
Okay.
Director John Wick is supposed to direct the movie version of it, so that might be good.
Ooh, that does sound good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So when you're a kid and you're drawing, you're doing these watercolors, you're doing everything, is there like one artist that you traced and copied more than anybody else? Because when I was a kid, I traced the Transformers cover where it has oh God, what's the guy with the one arm as a gun? He has one eye. He's on Cybertron. I'm drawing a blank.
Oh yeah, I'm not a Transformers guy. Yeah, that's a little bit after my time. It's like when Transformers were introduced, I thought it was a kiddies toy line, and I was like, I turned my nose up to it. I was like, I'm not into kids comics.
Dude, it was right up.
I'm into Spider-Man. That's way more adult than Transformers.
Yeah, way more adult. Dude, great
Shockwave.
Yeah,
that's what my buddy's telling me over here. Is Shockwave? It's called. Yep.
There's a great cover where you show him and he's up against a wall and it says all the Transformers are dead, and his gun is
okay.
And it was like I traced that cover, I drew that cover. You know what I mean? I was never pretty good, so I never became anything when it came to that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was something. I'm wondering, did you have that experience?
Oh yeah, there was so many artists that I adored growing up. I mean, from Jim Aparo to Marshall Rogers, but I think my two favorite artists, I mean, I would try to like emulate them or try to like to take what they did, but I mean, these guys are masters. It was John Byrne and George Perez.
Oh,
those were the two guys growing up. Like if they did any book, I was like super like happy just to see their work. And to no end, I still will buy anything that's repackaged or put into a different collection. If it has those guys' name on it, I buy it.
Yeah, mine is definitely Bernie Wrightson and John Byrne.
Oh yeah, Bernie Wrightson, yeah, another guy, yeah, like the master of mood, man. Yeah, those early Swamp Things.
Yeah. Oh God, his Swamp Things those covers are so freaking good, man. It is. Yeah. It's crazy when you look at them, and that Frankenstein card set,
Patchwork Man.
Oh, it's like I can't even understand how somebody has that amount of talent.
Yeah, I mean, they're on another level. Yeah, there's certain guys who on another level. Bernie Wrightson was there, Neil Adams was there, Kirby was there. I think Byrne and Perez are on that. Frank Miller,
Walt Simonson.
Well, yeah, Simonson's Thor run is, it's legendary.
Nice. They
I
talk.
like Stephen Bissett and John Totalman on,
yeah.
you know, in the 80s on Swamp Thing.
These are all good.
Yeah.
So tell me right now, you're working with Blue Juice Comics. You guys have Knights of the Fifth Dimension. And, you know, what can you tell us about it? Is it something that's, you know?
Yeah. The elevator pitch. It is a story about this artist who is, you know, it's based on Jack Kirby's like look in terms of his art style and even his physical appearance, but it's not real. It's not Jack Kirby though. And he has been tasked with publishing a monthly comic book featuring these superheroes called the Knights of the Fifth Dimension.
Oh, so this is fucking meta.
Yeah, and he has been tasked with this because he is a knight in our dimension, and the way he keeps this evil entity called Vanta Black from escaping from one of the other 5 dimensions and coming into his dimension is to publish this comic book and in hopes inflame the people who read it, their imagination, their confidence, it's because when enough people have like the incentive or what you looks like I had when I would read a comic book and I was driven to like draw it or just consume it and just like want to find out everything about it. That's what he is doing in our realm, but nobody really knows it. So he options his comic book for television, movies, and he takes horrible deals because he knows his money isn't his goal. It's to keep this entity that if it escapes and comes into our world is going to cause all like it feeds on self-doubt and depression. And so he is all about like his mission, which is to keep these characters alive and to inspire people to become artists and poets and writers or whatever, just inspire creativity. But he's on the other side of like 50 years doing it, and he knows he doesn't have much time left, so he has to search out
got to find that
his successor.
Yeah.
And so he comes into contact with a kid he met when he was the kid that sent a letter to him when he was in his teens, who also got into the comic book world, and he became like an overnight sensation and isn't really in it for the right reasons, because he became like a pseudo celebrity in the world of comic books. He's on Rolling Stone. He's into drugs. His life is kind of falling apart. So now he was going to reach back out to him and be like, this is why you have this ability, because you're going to take up the reins and you're going to take over with this comic book and keep this monster that is trying to break into our world at bay.
Dude, that sounds cool though, because how many characters do you have to develop and design? Because that sounds like a very big book.
Yeah, it is big. I mean, it's not just my book. The writer is Casey Van Heel, and me and him came up with this concept. So there's like 5 or 6 different knights. I think there's 6 different knights, and they battle. But they're basically like they each represent a different genre of comic books. When I was little, like there's one character that represents the horror genre. There's one that represents sci-fi, jungle comics, war comics. So each one, I mean, there's so much thought went into it, and it took me 7 years to do it. So like I overthought this and just like put so much like thought into this, and I just hope there's like 5 or 6 people that are like, oh, I get this, or I know what that's from, or I know what that toy that I based an object that has Knight's logo all over it. I remember that toy, but when it was a Spider-Man toy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you hoping to expand out on it if this one does well enough?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would love to do more in this universe, this Knight's universe. It was really fun to do, but at the time though, I was working 2 jobs. I was managing Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, and then in the summer I was working on Comic Book Men. So for those years that I was working on this book, I was doing other things, and so that's why it took me almost 7 years to finish. But I think now I'm not working at the stash any longer, and it would be my only gig. So I could devote a little bit more time to it now.
Is it? Yeah, well, man, if you get into it and you have the a next iteration, that'd be amazing. And
Yeah, it'll be fun.
You have a lot more time to do it. So if you're not, well, your guys are still doing a ton of podcasts, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's really what takes up my time now. But podcasts, they do allow you to have some downtime though.
Yeah,
a lot more downtime than a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to monetize our podcast, so we're still doing the 9 to
5. Well, yeah, I did it for a long time. Yeah. Only recently have I become a full-time podcaster, and I never thought I would say that.
Yeah. How much do you love podcasting? I mean, is it something that you thought once you started getting into it? Because I think I read where you were kind of hesitant about doing these kinds of things. It's like you weren't like real fond of being on camera and doing that stuff. And then now have you gotten to a point where?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like initially when we started, I was a little bit more close to the vest. I wasn't as willing to talk about certain things or reveal how I felt about things or things from my past or whatever. But when you do it, as long as we've been doing it, you kind of lose that. And then you start, and then of course, when you get positive reaction, I mean, there's nothing that's not even money is as good as just like when you hear that people like something that you're involved with. That is the biggest carrot on the stick for me. And so when we got, before there was television shows, we were getting a good reaction to Tell 'em Steve Dave.
Yeah.
Before there was Compliment, before there was IJ, we were doing that and we were getting, good reactions to that. And that just drives you. It's like, it just makes you want like, okay, let's keep doing it. And
yeah.
So that's why we've been doing it for so long.
Dude, I love it. We started in 2017 and oddly enough, we went and saw Kevin Smith do a spoken word in Bellevue, Washington.
Okay.
And hey, if you want to do it, and he said, if you want to do this stuff, just get out there and fucking do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you fail, you fail, but you learn from that failure. And then you try again. If you love it, you'll keep doing it. And I was like, you know what, let's just do this. And we started doing it. And like, Walt, the last 2 years has been a grind. We were at a point where we were releasing an episode every day.
How do you do that?
Oh my God. We just started growing, and then all of a sudden we had 12 people asking to help us on our podcast and create a network, and we have the Spoilerverse network, and it just out of fucking nowhere. Where it's like, well, okay, but it still becomes this grind, and you're just, the editing, the posting, you know what I mean? Making sure people understand what their roles are and how to do things. And then it's just, and people come and people go. And I think we're getting to a point now that we might be like, let's just get back to basics, not do one every day. It's too much. It's too much work. And
I couldn't imagine doing one every day.
Dude, it was nuts. But during that time, we had Walt and Louise on, we had Thomas Jane on, we had all these people on.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you guys are okay. Yeah. Well, that's got to be tough too. Like securing, names and guests. It's got to be, that's a gig in itself, right?
Yeah. It's tough, and some guys are very cool. Then we had one guy told us that he'd come on, but for $10,000. We're like, $10,000?
Wow.
It's a podcast, dude.
Well, I'm glad I told Tom at Blue Juice I would do it for $5.
Hey, I sent the check. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. Hey, I gotta ask, have you had any other comic book store owners or managers come up to you and just be pissed off that because I kind of think it's your show that kind of made the mentality that you can go into a comic book store and
no, I have not really talked to a lot of my colleagues out there, or for any other reason, I don't really go anywhere. Mike and Ming, they would do the con circuit. Brian would dabble in it, but I very rarely left New Jersey while that show was on. I would be at the stash. But I really didn't go anywhere. So I would come into contact with people who watched the show. Yeah. And if they made the effort to come into the store, that meant that they liked it. So that means I was getting, people who liked it. So I didn't hear anybody a bitch about it to my face though. But I imagine that, it's like Yeah, I get it though, because most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, somebody bringing something in,
Yeah.
it's not anything that is going to be a life or store changing item.
Right.
It's
Right.
going to be Superman, the Adventures of Superman, the 500, the white bagged issue that
Right.
they printed 10 million of, and they have 30 copies, and they're hoping to get, $1,000 for all 30
My
copies.
kid's college fund.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We heard it a million times, but I get it.
figured-
I understand the pain of the guys on the other side of the counter. I'm not there any longer, but boy, I spent enough time on the other side of the counter. That's why, like, even this book, like, what is the chances of people out there who are going through the previews and they see this book
Yeah.
in a world where, like, comics are kind of struggling and sales aren't that great? Are they going to order 12 issues of Batman or whatever, Batman universe? Or are they going to order 2 copies of this book and 10 copies of the book they know they can definitely sell? I get it. 9 out of 10 times I would do the safe choice as well. So
Right.
that's why I'm trying to get out there and try to spread the word if I can, but I don't know. It's an uphill battle when you're doing this.
It's tough. You got to do the
comic
circuit,
books.
and then you're on all these podcasts, and then you're just like, oh man, I hope the right people see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good comic book podcast. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's on YouTube called Comic Tom 101.
Okay.
You guys should reach out to them. They have a very large audience.
Oh, thank you for the tip. Appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, we reach quite a few people. We don't reach a lot of people on YouTube, but we reach a lot through our website and through our actual podcast, which is good.
Awesome. I'm very appreciative of you making the time and helping me out.
Hey, how long has Tell Him Steve Dave been going on? And how did that name come about?
We started in 2010.
Wow.
So it's been a while. The name comes from a line from Mallrats.
Oh, nice.
And I say the line because I was in Mallrats, a small role, and I'm with Brian, who from Tell Him Steve Dave, Ryan Johnson, and we're in the scene, and we say to Brody, Jason Lee, we say, "Tell him Steve Dave." That was the name of Brian's character, and Kev just dug the line, and he would use it in other movies, Chasing Amy, Strike Back. And it's just an inside joke. It was a joke that only Kevin got. It was that Kevin in the 90s would be going to a comic book store and dealing with the owner of that comic book store. We didn't have a comic book store at that point. We were buying our comics, just like every other consumer. And we didn't know the name of the proprietor of the store.
Right.
And it felt so awkward we were going there for so long to be like, hey, what's your name again? Because he would talk to us and he knew our name and he was so friendly, but we were like, how do we even approach the subject that we don't know what this guy's name is? It feels so cringy to be like, hey, I know we've been coming here for years, but we don't know your name. And I said, I think his name is Steve, or it might be Dave. So we just refer to him as Steve Dave. And that's where it comes from.
That's hilarious. I gotta tell you my Kevin Smith troll, because he trolled us on Twitter. Okay. He came to Tacoma, and my partner Johnny was like, hey, you want to go down to this comic book store? Kevin Smith is signing. I was like, yeah, and I'm not one to really care about getting an actual autograph. You know what I mean? It's cool to meet people and say, hey, ask questions, that kind of thing. But I was like, yeah, let's go. So we go and we get there. We're like the last people in line, right? And they want to cut it off like 3 or 4 before us. And Kevin's like, no, we're going to finish the line. There's only like maybe 10 minutes left anyways. Let's just do it. We come up, we start talking, we take our pictures, right? And I said, hey, we have a podcast that we just started at the time. This is like 2018, somewhere around there. And I had our business card. I said, hey, we have a podcast. This is our business card. We've been going. And he's like, oh my God, how are you loving it? I'm like, I had no idea how depressed I was until I started doing this podcast. And I've talked to Mike Grell and I've talked to all these people, right? And I'm shocked. We had Ben Templesmith on, and we were just over the moon, right? Talking to these people. And he's like, I want to be on your podcast. I said, he was like, how close are you to 100? I'm like, we're about 30 or 40 episodes away. He goes, I'm going to be on your 100th episode. I was like, okay. And I don't have it here around me, but he signed a headshot of him saying to Kenric, 100th episode, I'm there. Right.
Right.
And I was like, sweet. And dude, I'm over the moon because I'm like, Kevin fucking Smith is going to come on my podcast on our 100th episode. This is going to be ginormous. And then we get to 100 episodes. Literally a week later, he has his heart attack. And we're like,
bad time.
What do? You can't give him shit, right? You can't. We're like, hey, are you ready to come on? And the thing is, Walt, he kept liking all of our fucking tweets saying that we're excited to have him on and he's going to come on and da 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 da. And he kept liking every single one of them, but never responded. It's like, oh.
So you never got him then?
No, never on, bastard. But he was like, after that whole thing, then he was on Stephen Colbert and he's on all these bigger, huge shows. It's like, I don't blame him. What's he gonna do? Come on Spoiler Country? We're on our 100th episode with two fat guys from Seattle, Washington.
That's a good story.
It's pretty funny. And then so now we're, someday if I see him again, I'll be like, I'm gonna bring that thing with me. Well, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun, and I wish we had more time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the time you're able to give me, though. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you're a busy man, and you got a lot of work to do. It's kind of sad that you're not at the stash anymore. It's kind of weird.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I'm kind of used to it by now. It's been almost a year, but yeah, I mean, COVID fucked everything up.
Yeah,
it really did.
I'm glad but the store survived COVID.
Oh yeah, it's still there. Yeah, it's still it's still in Red Bank. Yeah, everybody should go see it.
Yeah.
And
support
the stash.
Or are you the only one who left, or is like
no? I mean, yeah, a lot of people, like I said, COVID changed the planet, and on the planet was the stash, and it didn't go unchanged. So yeah, it felt the effects, and yeah, a lot changed, and yeah, a lot of people who were there not a lot. It was never a big crew, but yeah, the people who were there before COVID, there's only like one left now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But now at least leaves me more time for finishing comics and
is that the cover
podcast.
Is that the cover?
Yeah, this is a cover of a collection like that we did for the Tom Steve Dave Patreon. The regular issue is coming out in July, though, like the single floppy issues.
Yeah.
But we did a special version of it for the Tom Steve Dave Patreon, and that's what this is right here. It's an homage to the Marvel Comics Super Special with Kiss.
Yeah,
from the 70s, and that's what this cover was an homage to. But yeah, that was the Patreon that we do on.
Are you guys going to have a lot of variant covers?
I don't think so. I don't know if Tom. I don't know if there's any variant covers for the 4 issues. I know that he sent out a Diamond issue #1 to every account at Diamond with a different cover on it, which so that means every Diamond account in the country or or maybe in the world is getting one copy of issue 1 before it's published, so they can look at it and see if they want to carry it. Then they can go to previews and see if they want it. Yeah. And that has an all original cover on it that is only available to the one per store account.
Yeah. I got to ask you before you leave, what are you reading right now? Who are you reading?
Okay. Well, what am I buying right now? I can't read that.
Are they telling you got to go?
No. My buddy was showing me something, but I don't have my glasses on. What is he showing me?
Tom says they're working on variant covers.
Oh, we're working on it, Tom says. Hey, somehow he's able to hear. Oh, I didn't know he's listening in.
Just go on and say it.
Oh, no. Get him said he's texting him. But what am I reading right now? Like I said, I'm not reading really anything current except a book called Copra. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Yeah, it was at Image for a while, and it's basically this guy. I am so jealous of this guy who was like, fuck it. I'm going to do the Suicide Squad from the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to do it. And I'm not going to change any of the costumes. I'm going to barely tweak it. And I'm going to have a Deadshot character. And you know what? I'm going to throw Doctor Strange in there. I'm going to throw the Punisher in there. And he is basically just doing his version of all his favorite characters from Marvel and DC, so close to what they are from the actual publishers.
Yeah.
And somehow he's like, he hasn't gotten a cease and desist. And I really love what he's doing. But for the most part, I just buy like collections. Like today I bought the Savage Sword of Conan Volume 7, $150, like omnibus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that just has it just reprints the magazines from the early 80s right now.
You know what I'm reading is I can't get enough of the Savage Avengers.
Okay, yeah, that has Conan in it, right?
Yeah, it's got Conan in it. It's it's dumb. I love it. It's
how did they get Conan into the present day?
He like went through the Savage lands, and honestly, I think I missed the thing with comic books is they suck at continuity. So it's like something was
it gets too hard when it's this many years later.
Yeah. And like if something happened before the series starts and he's in the Savage lands.
Then the Savage land where Khazar lives.
Yeah.
Okay. So Conan was traveling around in his era.
And then
stumbled into the Savage land and went through some sort of came through, and now all of a sudden, he's in the present day.
Yeah.
I love the idea. Like I said, I anytime
Conan,
you can show me Conan and Wolverine together in one comic book, I mean, that's
the Punisher,
that's a great
Conan and Wolverine together. I want to see
Punisher. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I want to see Conan and Spider-Man. I'm old school. I love the old shit. I miss the 80s storylines. I'm sick of watching Spider-Man being a teenager. I'm like, when are they going to get him through fucking college and having, because I want to see the death of Spider-Man. I want to see the Kraven's Last Hunt. I want to see that in a movie because I thought that was my favorite one of all time. And
that is a fucking 10 beller, man. Mike Zack, J.M. Dementes. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but that is the pinnacle of Spider-Man in the maybe since the Ditko Lee era.
Well, I don't understand
Kraven's Last Hunt.
Why isn't Spider-Man claustrophobic after that? I feel like he should be, because that's a storyline that was so good that the repercussions of what he went through should stick with him. And he's not. You're saying he's not claustrophobic.
They
retconned it so many times. You know what I mean? And Spider-Man was a billionaire. It's like, what the fuck? I can't have Spider-Man be a billionaire. That doesn't make any sense. He needs to be a poor boy in New York doing photographs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
He needs to be relatable. That's what made him relatable. Poor and like suffering and trying to get through.
Yeah, Charlie Brown with a costume.
Yeah.
And superpowers.
Exactly. But I'm reading more independent stuff now.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to work on my own shit right now. And so
nice.
it's a grind, man. It's a freaking grind. And I'm almost 50 and I'm going back to school. So
really?
Yeah. It's
congrats, man. That's awesome.
I'm gonna try my hardest. Grind, dude. It's it gets there. Well, dude, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. It's been almost an hour, which is kind of crazy. It goes so fast. Anytime, man. I would love for you to come back on and talk some more shit, especially when it comes to comics, because I could talk that all day.
Anytime you want. Just hit me up. And I am more than willing to talk some comics. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
All right, guys. It's in Previews Magazine right now. Go down to your local comic book store. Tell them you need to have Knights of the Fifth Dimension. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It looks amazing. Look it up. On a side note, if you want to know more about the Fifth Dimension, KRS-One, the hip hop artist from the 90s, has a thing on YouTube where he talks about what the Fifth Dimension is, and it's very entertaining.
Oh, I didn't know I didn't know somebody had defined what it is.
Dude, I Googled or I YouTubed Knights of the Fifth Dimension because I wanted to see if you had talked to anybody else yet. And that's
Okay.
like the third thing that pops up.
Oh, okay.
Like-
I'm not into rap.
Yeah, no, you know, but it was
Yeah, so that's why I wouldn't have had any idea that that there's somebody out there that has defined what the fifth dimension is. I have to go search out this video then.
there you
See
go.
how close we got to it.
Yeah, just go to YouTube. He uses the Rockstar sticker as explaining it, and it's pretty funny.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys. We'll see you soon. Walt, thank you so much, man. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. Bye.
Spaghetti! And we're back.
That's right. We are back. Back in the saddle again. Well, I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that as much as we did making it for you. And if you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, you got to go check out spoilerverse.com, because at spoilerverse.com, we have a plethora amazing directors and artists of all walks of life, and editors and writers, and oh my God, are you a lover of comic books like we are? Then there's so many amazing people from the comic book world over at spoilerverse.com, and I highly implore you to go there and check it out.
Yeah, and while you're there, you can check out all the other podcasts on our network, like Bridges and Geekdoms and Funny Book Forensics and Haphazard Adventures and Nerds from the Crypt and so many more.
Misery
We put out
Point Radio.
episodes all the time. Go check all of them out. And check out all of the reviews and previews and articles we have going up every single day for you. Every day on spoilerverse.com for you to check out and to read and to love and to like and to comment. We have a store link. You want to help support the site? You can do it two ways. One, go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/spoilercountry, or go to our store link in the middle of the site there and get a t-shirt, a face mask, a hoodie, something, look fly as hell, and help support the site when you do that, because we get $1 or $2. And, maybe you want to talk to us. If you do, you can do it obviously on all the socials, but if you go to scpod.us/discord, you can join our public Discord server and come chat with us all day long.
I couldn't say it better myself, dude.
There you go.
You just mouthed out a ton of information at once, and really, I hope you guys enjoy what you're hearing, because we're working our butts off to bring it to you.
We are.
I guess there's only one left thing. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. There's only one left thing left to do.
What's that?
In an oceans of podcasts,
We are Cthulhu.
as Cthulhu compels you to
Spaghetti. Open the mind.
and read more.
Spaghetti.